Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Public Works Committee for May 6th, 2025. It's called meeting to order at 7:01. First off, we'll do the roll call. We have Council Member Smith, Jelski-Eitner, Winterstan, and Dunn. We expect that Darlene Young will be joining us soon, and it looks like we have Dewan Wiggins absent at this time. Okay. First order of business will be the acceptance of the minutes. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes from last week? Ms. Najelski-Eitner. Are there any changes or corrections or comments on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Next is the public participation. Darlene, do we have anybody online that would like to speak?
Yes, we do. Ms. Loratello, you are unmuted.
Thank you, Darlene, and Chair Frayer, and members of the Council, DPW Committee, and staff. For the record,
Good
my name is
evening,
Diane. Excuse me?
I say good evening, Diane.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Diane Loricella, 21 Little Fox Lane. Tonight, I wanted to speak to issues related to your discussion items related to waste management and recycling. First of all, I listened to some of the recording and read the minutes of last month's discussion about, I think Mr. Szabo had filled you all in on two state-run or Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Zoom groups or online groups that I think would definitely help our city progress and increase our efforts for recycling and reduction of our expensive trash hauling. Mr. Szabo spoke about SWAC, or the Solid Waste Advisory Council. I regularly attend those online as well. But I wanted to highlight briefly what the CCSMM was described. This is a group for sustainable materials management that was formed during the pandemic. And at that time, because I think it's important for both the new and longtime council members to understand choices that we make in our city. Long story short is that I think Mr. Szabo may not be aware or left out the fact that this was formed originally by the state during the pandemic in order to move along, since we were approaching that waste crisis, to have different, it's only open to officials from municipalities and towns to help them begin to really focus on 4 or 5 different waste streams, including recycling better. There was one on food waste and compost. There was one on EPR, or the producer responsible have to take back things. And I think that the city, I did offer and suggest and made the city aware at various times in the last 6 years or 5 years that this has been available. I wanted you just to know that previous directors, council members, chairs of the committee, and recycling coordinators decided not to join. And I am hoping that this city will join. It's a no-brainer, because then the city will meet other towns that have different programs, some which are much more successful than ours, and exchange ideas and plans, and possibly even do a regional approach to some of our waste stream recycling and reduction. And so I just wanted you to know that the city had decided not to join. We are currently only one of 2 towns, including New Canaan, in southwestern Connecticut that have not joined. There are about 121, 122 towns out of 169. And I think the time has come for us just to join. You don't have to attend any meetings. Mr. Szabo said they're just starting up again. Well, the information that he and others could have gleaned for years is on the website, and it would have allowed us to reduce our cost. Lastly, I wanted to invite some members, including Mr. Freyer and Mr. Szabo and Vanessa. I'm going to be putting together a press conference. It is International Compost Awareness Week, and it's put together on an annual basis for at least the last 6 or 7 years. It celebrates making people aware of how they can actually turn their food scraps and organics into soil and the role
That's
that
3
soil
minutes
plays.
already.
Okay, and so
Sorry.
I wanted, offline, Mr. Freyer, I wanted to see if the city would be interested in joining me and the Norwalk Zero Waste Coalition to a quick Friday presser, probably around lunchtime, but I'm happy to be flexible. So I just thought it would be really a good way for the city to work with others and announce some of the good compost.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
And I will follow up with you on that, or you can give
Okay.
me a call and we can work it out. And I think
Okay.
that Ms. Valadares has already contacted you and sent you an email, I believe, about this organization and the fact that Mr. Szabo has participated on occasion, and the city has not declined to join it at all, that they are aware of it and do participate from time to time. Okay, and so we'll discuss that. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, is there anybody else that wants to participate, has something to say?
Ms. Easy, you're unmuted.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I hopped on tonight. I'm interested in learning more about and hearing your discussion on item, I think it's 5B on the agenda, for a contract amendment with A. DeCesar Associates relative to the East Avenue projects.
Mhm.
I was hoping that either Ms. Valadares or the one of the engineers might be able to explain in layman's terms what is being proposed at Cemetery Street and why whatever those minor changes are there now in regards to the apartment development there, why that would result in this extensive scope of work for another $90,000. And again, I have the materials in front of me, but I'm hoping someone can explain in English exactly what's going to happen there and why we need this scope of work from DeCesar again on this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
There is not.
Okay, then we'll close the public participation for this evening and then on to new business. The first item I'll read is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reeling, to execute any and all necessary documents for the Connecticut Port Authority through the Small Harbor Improvement Projects Program, SHIP, related to the City of Norwalk's awarded SHIP grant. So have a motion on that? Ms. Smith, thank you. And we have with us tonight Ken Hughes to talk about this a little bit. I think this is really exciting. This is going to, I believe this is going to help us get some much needed new docks in the area. So Ken, thank you for coming tonight. And
Absolutely.
just give some more
Yep, thank you,
background.
Mr. Chairman. Good evening to members of the board. So as you stated, this is a very exciting grant opportunity that we were awarded. It is through the Connecticut Port Authority through their SHIP program. The grant is for $3.528 million, which will cover a great portion of our marina upgrade. So we've been working at with the design on the marina for the past 2 years. We are going to supplement some of the grant with capital funding. But I mean, this is a huge step for us. It's going to basically rebuild the entire marina. And this SHIP grant is the same type of grant that we used on the other side of Veterans Park when we redid the launch ramps. So, I mean, this is a boon for the city. The boaters are very excited. We're very excited, and we're looking forward to, to getting this project started. So what you'll be approving this evening is basically authorizing the mayor to sign any and unnecessary documentation that we would need to accept the funds from the Port Authority.
It sounds really exciting. I'm
It
really
is.
looking forward to this. I think it's much needed. Those docks are, this is about the second iteration or the third iteration of docks that I think I've seen over there. So
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting to see
And
that.
we've been patching them up for the last 2-3 years, with the hopes that this funding would come through for the replacement.
Yeah. You can only patch them so much.
I
though.
know.
Anybody have any questions? Ms. Nadjelski-Eitner.
Thank you, Chair Fair. And congratulations, Mr. Hughes. This is very exciting and I think wonderful
you.
for the city. There wasn't anything in the materials, though, about the sort of scope of the project overall. So could you just give us some sense, is this likely to be 80% of the project funds, 50% of the project funds? What do you have a sense of?
So we
plans there?
haven't bid the project yet, but the preliminary numbers, we're probably hoping this is 60 to 70% of the funds needed for the project.
Terrific.
And time will tell once we go out to bid, because as you know, you can put all the numbers on it right now, but until the bids come back, we won't know.
And are there plans to make substantial changes to the marina as it currently is, or is this merely sort of a replacement of the existing plan?
Yep, so if you're familiar with the layout of the marina now, we have a south set of docks and a north set of docks, and you can't walk from one to the other. So the proposed plan for the new marina is actually combining north and south. So you'll be able to enter on either side of the marina and walk the entire length of the docks. We're going to have a new set of gangways that'll be 100% ADA compliant. So they're a lot longer than the existing gangway that's there. And we're also going to redo the entire entranceway, because as you know, it's pretty shoddy right now, the door and the security hardware around the door. We're also going to have new fingers, new docks, and we're going to have the ability to keep a few bigger boats on these docks, as well as a spot for some jet skis.
Right. So is this going to increase the overall number of slips?
I think we're increasing, don't quote me on this, by 3 slips because of the combination of the 2 docks. We are losing a little space with the bigger boats,
Mhm.
but that's always been a request to our department, is to be able to accommodate larger boats.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm excited about this. It sounds like a much needed project and terrific to have the grant funding. So thank
Yeah,
you.
and the intent would be to plan for construction starting this fall and to be done by the spring boating season. So we did notify all of the boaters already that they would have to have their boats out around September 15th, so everybody's aware. We did prorate the cost of the docks for this season, but everybody's looking forward to the replacement, so that wasn't even an issue.
That's great. That's terrific. And I appreciate the foresight on that and giving people lots of warning. I'm sure that really smooths the process for everyone.
Any other questions or any comments? Okay, all those in favor? Also, I just noticed that Mr. Wiggins has joined us, and he is also in favor, so that makes it unanimous. Thank you. Okay, letter B, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a 9th Amendment on the August 28th, 2007 agreement for professional engineering services between the city of Norwalk and A. DeCesar Associates, PC, regarding the East Avenue construction project for amount not to exceed $90,000 in accordance with the attached scope of services accounts so noted. Is there a motion? Ms. Nadjelski-Eitner. This is over on in the East Avenue area. This is the design around the Cemetery Street, and we have Mr. Meehan with us, the principal engineer of the city, that's going to explain a little bit about the background and touch upon the comment that was made by Ms. Cece. Jim, do you want to take over on this?
Yes, good. Thank you, Mr. Freyer. I'm actually going to turn this over to Mr. Wilbur Garan, our permanent engineer, as he was the one overseeing a lot of this project. So Mr. Garan will be talking about this a little more in detail. Wilbur?
Okay, great.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, fine.
Hello. Yes, so we're looking to amend RT Caesar's existing contract another time to include some additional design work related to improvements to the East Avenue, Gregory Boulevard, and Cemetery Street design as it relates to the Walk Bridge program. So right now we have an opportunity to for the state to do some additional work as a result from the recent development at 1 Cemetery Street. We're looking to include or add more sidewalk installations around Cemetery Street as part of the RT Caesar's contract. So right now we're looking to amend it one more time, excuse me, to include this additional work, which the state would then implement as part of the Walk Bridge program and begin construction shortly. I believe it's out to bid and just waiting for a contractor to be awarded. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Mr. Winterstrand? You're on mute, Ian.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Thank you for the introduction to that. I also had questions, just kind of amplifying the concerns during the public comment. Just it seems a little vague. Is there a way that we can understand better what specific work is being looked at to amend, to add to this area that's already been very disrupted for residents?
I
Like
like,
sort
I'm sorry,
Just
before,
just to put it in layman's terms, you know, the $90,000 investment, what are the residents going to get for that?
I'd like to point out, to add to what Wilbur said, was that we are looking to increase the connectivity of the area in alignment with the whole complete streets concept that the city has adopted, and we're looking to implement as much as possible. In addition, the scope of work of the area has extended beyond the areas of the original amount, but Mr. Garan will explain that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, some of the changes include adding sidewalks along Cemetery Street, potentially reducing it from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and adding additional street parking, and also the modifications of the 2 existing islands that are at the intersection of East Avenue and Cemetery Street, and Gregory Boulevard and Cemetery Street.
And the additional parking would be for the public or for the use of people in the new development, or how would that be allocated?
I believe the intent is to use it for the public with metered parking, but that I would need to confirm and get back to you.
Thank you.
So.
And are there any, I just have one more question,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead, go
Are
ahead.
there any designs that residents can look at, or anything that's been sort of sketched out?
There would be an opportunity to view the designs. So should this get approved, then the consultant will begin performing those designs and finalizing something for the public to be able to see.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I'm curious because it seems to me that I have seen some type of drawings, initial designs that show those additional sidewalks. Yeah, do you think they're available? I would imagine they're available on the planning and zoning page. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if they are available on the planning and zoning page. But the original designs you may have seen were very simplistic when it comes to the streetscape and the sidewalk. The main purpose of that original design was to improve the drainage along Gregory Boulevard. So a lot of the changes that are going to be implemented will be more streetscape based, and it's a continuation from the #1 Cemetery Street development. So the development is limited to just adjacent to their property. The city would like to see that streetscape extended around to Gregory Boulevard and East Avenue. So this design will incorporate that.
Ms. Dunn?
So why were these not included as priorities? I mean, it was part of the transit or development area, I assume, and why are we talking about this now? Why are we throwing more money at it? First question. My second question is there a list of priorities that are being put forward that, do we need more street parking? Is, in a transit or development area? My assumption is that's what we're trying to move away from. I don't know why we're looking towards that. What's the reasoning behind that? And my last thing is, I think it's really important to have visuals for people about the scope of the area that you're talking about addressing. I think this is way too vague to bring to us at this point, and that's just my personal opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, some of the changes to the design are as a result with our complete streets ordinance. So the original design didn't take into consideration much of the amenity zone. So these new designs that we're looking to implement will improve the aesthetics around Cemetery Street, and that includes installing brick pavers, some curb bump outs to try to diet the road to make it a little more pedestrian friendly.
Have you gotten the idea that there needs to be more of a diet to the road? It seems like very congested at the moment to me. What is the impetus for that? I guess where we're getting the data for that.
Oh, we're working with
I understand pavers and making it look nice. That makes sense. Having the sidewalks, where are the sidewalks missing? Where are people getting to and from? That is lacking. I think there needs to be a little more explanation of that for us, I think, and the neighborhood would probably like to have that information too.
Yeah,
As
we're
Wilbur's,
working with.
go ahead, please, Wilbur. Yeah.
I was just going to mention that we're working with TMP on their recommendations as well with improvements to the street, with the focus and emphasis on making it a pedestrian friendly area.
But adding more parking spaces makes that more pedestrian friendly. I'm a biker, and I know that driving my bike past parked cars is the last thing that's feels safe to me. I'm sorry that I'm so negative about this, but it just it's not making sense to me. So I need a little more clarity for it to make
As
sense.
Wilbur has pointed out, the Complete Streets guidelines tries to make connectivity for different modes of transport, and we're trying to implement that as best as possible. The particular areas are just designated for different approaches, and this was just a consideration for the original work that was actually proposed for this particular area. It was just evaluated for that, but that's an ongoing process for the actual setup that's going to be out there, which is why we're having designers come in for that.
And how has the community been engaged? I don't know, Anne, if you have any information, it's kind of you represent that district, I think, right? Yes. How have they been engaged as far as their needs?
I see Miss Cece's hand is up. She might want to, I don't know if that's we can call on her to clarify. I know we can't probably, but
Public, public.
You actually
public,
can.
I can.
Public discussion is ended, so we could, you know, she's free
Well,
to
Chairman, a
write us
commissioner
in,
can
but-
certainly call upon the member of the public for additional clarification or comment.
Well, I think.
I'm
let
sitting
us-
right
let
here,
us-
so.
I think it's appropriate that we go through the members of the committee are on the floor right now, and there's several of them might have things to say, so if you want to just listen to them, and then possibly we can follow up with emails and communications that you may have specific questions to. Go ahead. I think it was Heather that you were still speaking.
No,
I was just
Or, I mean, I'm sorry, Ann.
I was gonna answer Heather's question. I mean,
Okay, go ahead.
I think that I agree, this is too vague for me to be able to vote on tonight. And I think that if what we're allocating is $90,000 for design that can then be presented to the community for input, I might be open to that, but I'm not exactly sure what we're spending $90,000 on.
Mr. Jills Geiger?
I believe Ms. Smith's hand was up before mine.
I just wanted to ask if, thank you, Nora. I just wanted to ask if we're on a time restraint here, because I think, you know, like Ms. Dunn said, you know, we need to see a visual. And it's sounding to me like if we're incorporating complete streets, it's sounding like this is positive, right? Because we're moving, you know, to, you know, a safer design. But I think we need to see what we're talking about. And so that's why I'm just, are we on a time schedule here? Can we table this to the next
Before you
meeting
go
so we get
to Nora, let me just ask a question of Jim Meehan. Do we have some visuals of this? Do we have some basic design that we have in place now, and what we think it's going to be, or is this just very open-ended? We are giving it to DeCesar to come up with new ideas and new view of the project that's already in place.
I'm not aware of the current existing schematics at the moment. Wilbur, I don't know if you're aware of that at all, but I am aware that this particular section has expanded the scope of work. In other words, it was going all the way down East Avenue down to basically the train tracks within or around 4 Point Road, and we're now going further down with that. So this was an area that was not originally there, but for an actual layout, I'm not aware of any preliminary set of layouts or schematics that are there. Wilbur, unless you're aware of that, we could. There's been coordination with TMP. They might have some initial sketches, but nothing that I have available right now to actually show.
There are some conceptual drawings that we can share with the committee. I unfortunately don't have anything available at the moment, but it's something that we can follow up with.
But I guess my concern is if we've got conceptual drawings, that why are we now having to come back to DeCesar after the design has already been done? I guess what has changed that is now requiring us to come back to DeCesar and ask for additional engineering work? I guess that's the
I should point
question.
out, conceptual designs are different from an actual, conceptual layouts are different from an actual design work. A conceptual design study the area. Okay, we can put this over here. An actual design says, okay, in order to put this here, we have to do this. We have to move these structures. We have to do something to actually make this work. That's a little more involved. So that's why that's just a sort of basic difference between any type of conceptual layout and an actual full design work for any project.
$90,000 seems like a lot. Nora, do you want to?
I do, but I saw that Mr. Pacelli has his hand up. Do you have something that you want to contribute
Sure.
now?
No,
Do
you first, please.
Well, so I think I have a couple of, so this item is to do the design. So I do think that it is, there's a limit to how much we can expect to see the design at this stage. And I have to say that I'm not sure that 90,000 seems that strange to me, given that we're adding essentially, that's a fairly extensive additional area. So I'm not super troubled by that. What I'm actually want to understand is if we are not bidding out this project, if the state is in fact bidding out this project, at what stage does the design come in front of our residents before it's finalized? So normally we would be approving the design and then it would come back to us to approve the project. But if the state is doing the work, when do our residents in this process get input?
That is a fair question. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to when the community gets to present their thoughts or opinions on it.
Something that we could discuss with the committee. We don't have that information at the moment.
Because I think I'm reluctant to approve doing the design process if this is our only opportunity to weigh in on this. If we are going to have future opportunities, then I agree. I'd much rather have us weigh in once we've seen a design. But I am concerned at this point about that. So perhaps if it is possible, as the chair suggested, I think to table this for a month for more information, that might be helpful.
Greg, did you want to add anything to that?
No, one thing I just want to, include in the conversation as well is, so this has been, a kind of a integration of two separate projects. You have, yes, the state project through the Walkbridge project, but also through the One Cemetery Street development as well, through their planning and zoning approval and their site development, which included some of those improvements. So you kind of have two projects kind of converging together, along with the close coordination with DOT, because it is partially Cemetery Street, partially a state road. So you do have that coordination with DOT and their approvals for the design work as well. So that's where, the projects are kind of converging together. We're trying to implement the two projects together as one rather than working in silos separately, because you have the development going after their approval for the roadway work, and you have DOT and the city also going for roadway improvement work along 136 for the Walkbridge program. So that's where a lot of this extra design work is coming into play now to kind of integrate those two projects together as one. So that's where a lot of this is coming from.
Is it possible that some of this, I think that some of the concerns, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, but some of the concern is surrounding the Cemetery Street development and how that it's kind of gnarly down there. Is this, and maybe Wilbur, you can explain to me, is this going to be focused more up by further north on East Avenue? Is that where, because if it's because of the Walk Bridge, that's going to be the significant area that's going to be impacted by this, and possibly not down by Cemetery Street, by that new development.
So what, Wilbur, if I may just jump in real quick. So the project includes everything basically from Winfield Street, all of East Avenue, south of Winfield Cemetery, and then Gregory Boulevard as well, heading back up again to Winfield. So that whole perimeter around the cemetery circle there. So it includes all the sidewalk improvements, all the repaving, new line striping, signage, sidewalks, crosswalks, accessing to the center cemetery, which today has no crosswalks, and also inclusive of bike facilities as well, and improved crossings as well, with RFBs and signals and some curb extensions as well to slow vehicular traffic, because as you all know, there's a sea of asphalt out there today. So we're just trying to better delineate traffic through this area. And this was all based on traffic volume counts that were taken over the years through the development and also through DOT and with the city. So this is all, based on all those counts and approvals that the development got for their roadway work. And then as far as the approvals that the city was previously working on for kind of like those northerly limits. of the project area, which I understand it's difficult to explain that without any graphics or maps or anything. So I'm sure that would be more helpful to you all to kind of be able to see that and approve the money allocated for extra design work that's going to be needed.
Okay. Nora?
Just one further question to my other comments, which is that if this is, and I agree, I like the idea of integrating, right? The whole, let's not have separate projects at odds to each other. But if this is in part being driven by one cemetery, is one cemetery making a contribution to the cost?
Well, so it's not just driven by the one project. It was already the Walk Bridge program. This project was already included within. The one cemetery was kind of a standalone project on its own, while the state and the city were already in coordination working on the Walk Bridge program portion, which included the cemetery circle portion as well. So we couldn't just build a project and then per One Cemetery Street development approval, they also had to do their site work as well, which included work within the roadway as well. So that's where we had to work to integrate both projects. So one project doesn't get built and then the next project comes in and gets ripped out. And so the other project gets built.
No, I do understand that, but I'm just saying, like, if one cemetery if there are parts of this project that are being driven by their needs, then it's not I think it's a fair thing to ask. I mean, writ large, again, this is I think an ongoing conversation and maybe a planning and zoning determination, not ours, but I don't think it's unfair to ask that they contribute to infrastructure design that is intended to accommodate their project. So again, just something to consider for the future.
I think that it'd be really beneficial to get some drawings or some conceptual drawings of what is encompassed in this thing. You know, and then we can and get a better idea of what we're looking at. There's no urgency to have this done, is there, Jim?
I'm not aware of anything myself. I'd have to verify of any deadlines. Wilbur, I don't know if you're aware of any particular deadlines that this is required, because we're the ones funding for the design itself. So
The only deadline is we are trying to meet the state's construction schedule. The intent is to make these design changes as a change order to a bid that's gone that has been advertised already, but it has not been awarded to any contractor yet.
Can I
Okay.
also ask if we're getting that?
I think Ann was first and then Barbara, then.
Good.
I'm sorry.
Heather, go ahead, because mine's more sort of a final comment.
Just if we're getting those visuals, can we also get the visuals of just the macro view of the two projects that it's linking? Maybe that's a Greg thing. The state project, if we get an overview of the scope, like what properties
Well,
will.
that's the whole Walk Bridge and the whole East Avenue thing.
Well, I think it's important for the residents to know what we're talking about and that it be part of the agenda.
Well, I think the whole $90,000 is, that's what I'm saying, is that we would like to see a total overhead of what it is that we're going to be studying, what's re-engineering. So yes.
But even the state's plans, like scope of area that we're trying to link together. That's just my request. Thank you.
And I just I'll add to that, I agree that the public should, for transparency and for community input, they should be able to see this and also have the opportunity to speak to the plans that we're signing off on.
Barbara?
Yeah, I just want to add, because this is, the state involved, and there are oftentimes deadlines, and I'm well aware from being on this committee for so long that, sometimes it is urgent. And so I just want to say that I would rather us have to schedule a special meeting for this. If it's, if it's got to come up sooner than our next monthly meeting, I would rather have to schedule a special meeting so that we can get the visuals, because I think seeing the visuals of what's already planned will help, just even seeing that, right? And then maybe just the sketch out of what this, this, we're not, I know that, the design would be yet to come, but just sort of some kind of sketch out of what this would entail and how it would bring it together. I think it's just really important.
I think that I think we should table this now and have we can have a special meeting, and we can do that in the next week. And then it can go to the council. Well, we could even probably do it this week.
It might
and
not
then-
be necessary, Jim. It might not be as necessary, but I'm
Exactly.
just saying, I'd rather do that than, we need all the information.
No, I think that should be pretty simple, straightforward to get some idea of a picture of what we're going to be doing, and what's perceived. What is the perception of what we're going to see here? It doesn't have to be exact as-built drawings or anything like that, but let's get an idea. Okay, so we'll table this.
Chairman,
Yes.
can
Oh,
I just,
yes,
to
yeah.
everybody's question about another meeting, is the goal to have this at our next council meet, not this one coming up, but the end of the month, or can it go until next month?
We'll find out, because nobody seems to know how
Okay.
urgent it is.
Okay.
I also note that Ms. Young has joined as well. Good. So we'll table this till next until next meeting or a special meeting. So do we need to take a vote on this, Barbara?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to table.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to G. This is, I'm gonna read, and I'm sorry, not G, C.
C and D.
C and D, and I'd like to read these together because both of them are related. So C is RD 2025-2 roadway paving, sidewalks, and water main installation. Authorize the Mayor Harry W. Reardon to execute an agreement between the City of Norwalk and Guerrera Construction Company for project RD 2025-2 roadway paving, sidewalks, water main installation for Flax Hill Road from Washington Street to Arbor Drive for a sum not to exceed $2,655,816.80. That's the base bid funded by the City of Norwalk, and another $1,985,560 alternate one funded by SNEW. Number two, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Reardon to execute a funding agreement between the City of Norwalk and the Second Taxing District to fund the alternate number one bid in the amount of $1,985,560 under the city's contract with Guerrera Construction Company for project RD 2025-2 roadway paving, sidewalks, and water main installation for Flax Hill Road. Accounts so noted. And then D, which is related, is authorize the Chief of Operations of Public Works to execute orders on the contract with Guerrera Construction Company, Inc. for project RD 2025-2 roadway paving, sidewalks, and water main installation for Flax Hill Road from Washington Street to Arbor Drive for sum not to exceed $464,137.68. Account so noted. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Young, thank you. This is a $4.6 million project, and it's done partially funded, as I mentioned, by SNEW. So I want to turn this over to, and the other thing I want to mention too is that if you look at the contingency, the question may come up as to the contingency is 10%, which is usual amount that we see. But the question would might come up is that if we're getting the contingency would be funded by the city as opposed to being split with the with SNEW. That has to do, we had a conversation about this, and Mr. Meehan will explain in a little bit more detail. It's not expected to be more than normal, but we could have a little bit, there may be a little bit more work that the city has to do to get it. Once again, it's a contingency. It's not something that we definitely are going to be funding. So let me turn it over to Jim Meehan, who will explain it to us a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Mr. Freyer, members of the council. So on April 24th, we received bids. We opened bids for our project on Flax Hill Road, which is to construct sidewalks and new curbs, and also to pave and stripe the area on Flax Hill from Arbor Drive down to Washington Street. And again, all concepts being taken into consideration with updating to Complete Streets concepts. We're looking to construct the area. And we are also doing a joint venture with South Norwalk Electric and Water, which is known as SNU, because at the same time, they are looking to install some new water mains in the area as well. So we decided that it would be beneficial for both parties to actually do this as a joint project. So we put out bids for different alternates, and as Mr. Freyer has announced, the lowest bid was for Guerrera, for the lowest responsible one for that, and the entire amount of the bid is $4,641,376 but the city's portion of this would be only $2,655,816.80. This is just for the efforts to actually installing a sidewalk and curbs and repaving the road itself. So the other areas would be water main installation, which will be handled by SNU. So, and as such, we are doing an agreement between us that whereas they are funding it and we're basically just managing the project, but they check on their own work, but we are managing the overall project for this.
And did you also mention that there is some tricky
Yes.
work that has to be done?
There is, as Mr. Fair pointed out, there is the concept of the actual additional amounts for anything that would want to do. We normally, a contingency tends to be about 10%. We generally use that for our projects. Sometimes we use more. This particular time, we are actually looking to do that slightly more, because the area down by, there's a few tricky areas, in particular, the area down by Washington Street. In order to, because as I said, all of our roadway projects are involved with the Complete Streets concepts of increased connectivity, and to make it more PROAG compliant, which is the federal guidelines for ADA compliance, there's a portion of the road that actually needs to be lowered of Flax Hill Road down by Washington Street. And by doing that, it's not a guarantee that it's technically speaking should be acceptable, but there are oftentimes unforeseen difficulties. You could dig down the area and you could have rock in the area, you could have bad soil, things that need to be replaced. So we want to make sure that we have enough contingency in the entire account to make sure that just in case these unexpected problems do occur, that we have something to cover for that. The contingency itself is not expected to evolve itself with any difficulties with SNU's portion of the project. If a situation like that does occur, in other words, if there's a problem with installing their water main, they will be expected to fund that in addition on their own manner.
Okay, do you have any comments or questions for Mr. Meehan? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to E is authorize the city of Norwalk purchasing agent to authorize a cooperative purchase agreement, purchase order to Gengrass Ford LLC for the purchase of 6 Ford Escape plug-in hybrids for a sum not to exceed $221,437.20. Accounts so noted. This is for 6 new cars at probably about an average of about 35K each. Chris, Tori, do you want to say something about this?
Sure, the cars
I'll
are.
move that for you, Jim. I'll make.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good evening, all. Thank you for allowing me to speak. The cars fall in at $36,990 to be exact. For 6 of them, they're similar to what Tom Livingston and the mayor are currently driving to try out. And it is a cooperative purchasing agreement with the state of Connecticut, or we'd be paying a little bit more for those cars. If you're wondering where each department is, it's various departments. None of the cars are for Public Works. They're for various departments replacing the Ford Tauruses and those outdated vehicles. And they're all plug-in hybrid 2025 Ford Escapes.
Okay, any comments, any questions for Chris? Ms. Nadjelski,
Just very quickly, Chris, because I know folks on this committee are aware, but again, public sometimes gets confused. Can you just explain the state contract and how that is essentially a way of leveraging bidding that the state does to get us the lowest bidder?
Yeah, so the state of Connecticut does a lot of the legwork, and they make deals with vendors throughout the state of Connecticut. This current vendor is called Gendra Ford. I'm not sure exactly where they are, but our fleet manager, Matt, before we purchase anything, we look to see what the state of Connecticut has purchased and what's on their purchase order. And we just piggyback off the state of Connecticut. And Sharon actually prefers, because that is the lowest price that the city is going to get for these vehicles.
Great, thank you.
and just to add to that, Gengrass is somebody that we've been using, I think at least over the last 2 years.
Longer than that, yeah.
Yeah.
They go back to Matt's predecessor, Joel Grant, and he was our fleet manager for like 14 years. He's been using them.
Actually, one other quick question, and the decision to do hybrid instead of full electric?
The price.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item number F, or letter F, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract between the City of Norwalk and Colonia Concrete and Asphalt Paving for project DRG 2024-1 Lockwood and Heather Lane drainage improvements for a sum not to exceed $400,000. Accounts so noted. Can I have a motion to Ms. Winstrand? This is for completing some more drainage as a result of some poor soil conditions. Mr. Meehan, you want to give us a rundown on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ferrer. Yes, indeed. As most of you know, there's a very major drainage project going on in the Heather and Lockwood Lane area, where we're installing a considerable amount of structures. The construction is ongoing. We're a little over halfway done. We're making very good progress, but there's been a considerable amount of unforeseen challenges out there, mostly in terms of rock excavation, excessive rock excavation, and poor soil conditions. We're digging down in excess of 15 feet, and we're encountering more rock than could be anticipated, and we're going to areas that are bad soil that needs to be replaced in order for us to. It's one of the reasons that the area has flooding problems because of the poor soil conditions in a considerable amount. So we've had to make these replacements, and we're just looking to add some more funds in order to handle the unforeseen problems that we've been encountering.
Any questions and comments? Ms. Nadjelski,
Just so that we can all anticipate, do you think that this is now sufficient sort of reserve to cover, or, I mean, have you guys gotten to the bottom of the problems, on your way up, or is there more concerns potentially?
It's a good chance that we still could be doing this. We're installing approximately 1 mile of storm pipes. That's what the whole project is. We're over halfway done. We have done the positive spin is that we've done the majority of the deep excavation area. So the ones that we're doing are more shallow. So it's hopeful, but there's a very good chance, most likely, that we could be still encountering this as we go along. But we'll see that as we progress.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. Winterstrand? And you're on mute.
Sorry. I was just, so the amount of 400,000, is that kind of a conservative estimate? There's a potential that you'll have to get more to complete this with
Yes,
whatever.
well, right now, the 400,000 is a little more than what we need right now at the very moment. It's impossible to predict exactly what's going to happen in the future, but considering the bad soil that we've had over there, it's more than likely that there's going to be a significant amount of there. So I would love to say, yeah, yes, there's no way to be asking any more, but we won't know that until we actually do the excavation.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that looks unanimous as well. Okay, thank you. G, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an eighth amendment to the Woodward and Curran Agreement dated August 12th, 2019, to provide professional engineering services for stormwater drainage design services for the proposed stormwater improvements downstream of the Broad River Park, in accordance with the professional services task order dated April 11th, 2025, for the sum not to exceed $397,700, account so noted. This is just below the Broad River fields, baseball fields, and goes across I think goes across the Silvermine, Silvermine Avenue and into toward the river. Doesn't go directly into the river, just goes across the Silvermine Avenue there. So Mr. Meany, you want to fill us in on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Yes, as you all know, there's also been a major drainage study done by Wood and Curran back in 2019 for the entire Ponus area. They've analyzed, as you know, that area receives a lot of flooding. There's tremendous amount of trouble in the area. And we are now looking to actually get into, now that the study has happened, they say there's capability of actually alleviating some of these floods. We are now looking to implement the bottom portion, basically, of this. As Mr. Fair stated, we're looking to have Wood and Curran amend the contract to actually design and do all aspects of the design that involves implementing drainage structures that goes from Silvermine, basically the bottom of where the baseball fields are. There's a culvert being built over there, over to the wetland area by Lakeview Drive East. So this is basically the bottom portion of the entire project, of the whole phased out scenario. This entire project, which was, as you know, we attended about a year ago, I believe. a discussion about this with Woodard and Curran, and the entire project will be split up. It was originally estimated to be about $11 million, so we want to split this up. And this is the first phase of this project, the bottom portion of this, to actually implement the outfall areas.
Yeah, quick question, the 11 million you just mentioned, that does not include the turf for the ball fields?
No, this is completely independent of the ball field. This has nothing to do with the ball field itself. This is only it's going to tie into the culvert that's being built at the ball field, but it's not in an effort to actually remediate anything in the ball field itself. It's to set up areas for the upper regions of the whole Ponus area, which goes all up Ponus Avenue, almost up to Fox Hill Road.
Right, okay. I'm sorry. Darlene Young, you had a question?
No, sorry.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, just as a refresher on this, Jim, so, and it really does show you how long it takes to get a project going and get the funding for it, because I remember when this study began back in 2019. So, and if I'm not mistaken, we have been able to give some of the residents in the upper portion of this some relief.
Yes,
Right,
that's
okay.
correct.
Yeah, but then this first part that happens down near the Broad River Fields is the first section of what is going to be a much larger project, but this part had to be done first. I'm, going back a couple years here into the design of it. So this is like the base, right? And then you'll be able to move up from there.
Yes, exactly. You have it exactly right, Mrs. Smith. Yes, we've been able to do some smaller alleviation projects, just kind of like just alleviate somewhat of the flooding for certain areas over in various aspects of that neighborhood. But this is the first part, the bottom part, you would say, of the major project that would go on in the area. So basically, you have to build from the with drainage. You always have to build from the bottom and move your way up. That's you can't build the top and go down because you have no place to drain it to. So this, hopefully, if this is built, we're hoping to be able to, in future years, maybe if funding is available, perhaps in other areas, we could try to build up more and more as we go along.
So this part, we know will benefit the fields, right? As we, start working on that project, but will this alleviate the flooding behind those businesses? Where those restaurants are, will they get some relief? Because I recall that they have some occasional very bad flooding behind those.
I'm not sure. Well, again, as I stated before, this is not real. This is rather independent of the field itself. The field itself is getting its own remediation.
No,
Yeah.
oh, okay, got it.
That's the thing. It's not really meant to do that. It's meant to go. This bottom portion is going to connect it is going to connect to the culvert that's going to be built within the field. That culvert is being built in order to accommodate this actually project that we're looking to do over here. So if we do that, we connect to there. We're able to build up directly from there. I'm not exactly sure what businesses you're referring to.
There's some restaurants there. There's an Italian restaurant.
New Canaan Avenue.
Right along New Canaan Avenue.
Okay, yeah. Well, again, New Canaan, although it's part of this area itself, it's
That's
really
further
close to stuff.
It's further south, really. I
The
mean,
one
Yeah,
point
it is.
John's best.
It's going to be taking this particular portion there will not be taking too much of Silvermine. It's going to be too much of New Canaan. It's going to be built across Silvermine and going into the Lakeview Drive area. So the residential houses around that area, they'll be the first to sort of reap the benefits of this particular project then, until we can get further up as we go along.
Got it. Okay.
is done.
Yes, if I have to go back to it, I wanted to ask a question about, if I can find it, as was on page 2. Boundaries of wetlands and water bodies will be mapped using sub-meter GPS. What does that mean?
Well,
And surveying of wetlands and boundaries is not included. So
yeah, what it means is that because we have to build an outfall, we have to revise an outfall, do something with that's going to have to be deposited into the wetland. And anytime you build there, you can't just simply build an outfall by federal and state regulations. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to put an outfall over here. I'm going to deposit into this. We have to make sure that we're following all regulations involving with Connecticut Deep and with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So they're part of the design itself of this is not just going to be the design of the actual storm pipes or the storm system, but also all the surveying, mapping out the area. Say, okay, when you do this, you have to say exactly where the limits of the wetlands are. You have to see exactly where everything is within the area, and then you have to be able to define how you're not going to do harm to this area.
I understand that, but it
Yeah.
says that the surveying of the wetlands is not part of this project, that they're only doing GPS mapping.
Well,
What I'm trying to understand is that that's where the Kellogg Daring Wellfield is, which is where the drinking water comes from for the first taxing district. I just want to make sure that it's very clear that there's no overflow from storm runoff that could be pesticide full of pesticide stuff that goes into that drinking water, Kellogg Daring Wellfield. Do we need more scope to have a survey done? I don't.
Well, again, the survey scope is really just designating the limits itself. What they mean by that is that it's going to be GIS based as opposed to on field. There's different ways to do a survey. The survey is not meant to test the water. It's meant to designate the limits of the area. So the different ways you could do that is designated by GIS, which is, we have our own, as you know, CityWorks, which designates areas there, or you can send people on field to designate things would get a little more precise. But for this area, it's designated that it's just simply not necessary in order to designate. The survey that you refer to is not going to be a chemical designation of what's going to be poisoning. It's just going to be designating the limits itself. How intense they get into it is really what they're saying with that.
No, my concern is that it not just be a general map around the area, that there's a real sense of where water is flowing, and if there's an outflow from a pipe, where is that water that from the outflow, is it leaching into the Kellogg Daring Wellfield where people's drinking water is at? Which is not a line on a map, it's more of a
Well,
I guess
well,
what I'm saying,
that what you
we need
speak
more
of is actually, that which is actually part of our annual MS4 program, which is independent of everything that we do, because we have to do that for all of our things. So that's going to be something they're just looking to actually set the outfall for the actual catch basins and storm system itself to do the actual collection. That's what the design is for. What you speak of pollutants going into a storm system is always a concern for us. We have our annual MS4 program, which we have to report to the state, and our WPCA runs that. They do it very well. We actually have a separate consultant involved with that at the moment. We was upgrading our MS4 to make sure that pollutants are not being deposited into there. So all considerations are given for MS4 regulations for any system that they build into here.
And they're collaborating together as part of
Well,
it.
it's not, they don't really require collaboration. They just, because the consultants here are very familiar. Wood and Kern, they're very good consultants. They're very familiar with all MS4 regulations, and this is something they'll certainly be reporting it to us, and we will be turning that over to our MS4 team. But that's going to be something that's they're simply considering for that. The system itself is just to design the stormwater. Removal of any pollutants is a concern for the actual MS4 program, which is true whether or not we're building a new system or not.
I'm not sure that's the question that Ms. Dunn is asking. I think is the outfall in an area where you could get migration of stormwater runoff into the area of the well that she's talking about. And I think what you show on the backup information, you show where that culvert is going to go in, and there's wetlands over there. If those wetlands are not I don't think the wetlands are near the where the well is. Wetlands, I think, migrate into that other pond on the other side there.
That is the Kellogg during Wellfield, is that kind of
Okay.
broad street. It looks like a pond, sort of. It's where the substation is, the electrical
So
substation.
it doesn't go directly into the pond, it goes into there's
Yeah, but
wetlands
it's
there.
all interconnected, you know, it's really,
Yeah.
really interesting
yeah.
how when we have a drought, everything gets sucked out from, you know, the rock.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just wanted, and it wasn't like a criticism, it's just, do we need the scope to be able
No,
to?
no, it's a good question. It's a
Yeah,
good
no,
question.
yes, of course, no, very good question.
Your opportunity.
Yeah, that's part of our regulation with DEEP. They make sure that and anything there, that's why we have a survey of the wetlands itself. And that's why DEEP, as a part of regulation, are going to requirements for all their relevant permitting. So that's the type of common question that goes into there, which is what Wood and Kern will be considering when they do the
Okay.
design for this.
So in
They're
other words,
not-
Wooden
they're
Current,
not
if they're gonna take into consideration where that outfall is, if it's in the
Yes, they
in the area of that well, as long as they know that that is a well water, that big pond that you and I looked at the map and there was a big pond there, and then
Like a reservoir, it's, you think of it more like a reservoir.
call it a
Yes.
reservoir. And there's wetlands probably maybe 100 yards further up from that reservoir. So Wooden Current is going to be taking a look at that and say, hey, wait a minute, you know, do we want to dump any kind of runoff from our fields or anything like that is going to go into that or close to those wetlands.
But it's not that this contract says that they're not, but you're saying that they're gonna use the state's deep.
No. What I mean by that is that what they're going to be doing is the survey itself is GIS based. When they say they're not doing what would be designated as a land survey, in other words, having somebody out there actually marking it out, walking around to mark the area. What they're going to do is base it on our GIS, basically our topographic areas that are already designated for there. So they'll be able to, for something of the volume, it tends to be sufficient. If they find out during the process that it may not be sufficient, it's always something that could be, but at the moment there isn't reason to believe that anything more intense would be required for that.
So it's not like you're gonna come back to us and say we need more of a wider study. It may be we need to go to the state and get the information from DEEP. Yeah.
Well, DEEP is
Well, I
going
would
to
think that wouldn't
require
Wooden
this.
Current, wouldn't Current cover that though? I mean, they're not gonna, obviously, they're not gonna do any testing, but their engineering prowess should be of a certain level that if it's gonna go into wetlands next to a well reservoir, then that's probably not a good place to have an outfall.
Yeah, the placement of the outfall is going to be well, they know generally the area. It's going to be the area where wherever they have it, wherever they decide to put it, it's the most beneficial area. They have to show flow, the amount of water that goes into there. They have to show how it's not going to be basically harming the particular wetlands, whether or not it goes into someplace else or not. And that's going to be part of what the survey is going to be involving.
Okay.
And it's my understanding it's going into the Newark River, yes or no?
Well, eventually, I believe that particular wetland does feed into that. How much it goes in would depend on how much volume goes in.
Yeah. That's what it looks like on the map. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Okay. Item H, authorized Mayor Harry W. Rilling to enter into a temporary right of entry agreement for Peter Lupino at 3 Deerfield Street for construction access, slope modification, and tree planting purposes in connection with the sidewalk installation of project TP 2024-8 Soundview Avenue Sidewalk Connection Project. Greg, do you want to take this?
Yeah. Absolutely. Mr. Chairman. This This item, it was a previously awarded project along Seaview Avenue. It's for construction of a sidewalk where we have an existing gap in the sidewalk network along Seaview Avenue leading up to Highland Avenue. There is a significant rock ledge at the intersection near Deerfield Street. So with this project, we're chiseling out that existing rock ledge area and constructing a retaining wall so that we can construct a sidewalk to improve the sidewalk, to get a sidewalk in along this path, which is a critical path to the connection to Highland Avenue, where we have 3 schools. And the city has received a lot of customer service complaints. And we've also observed a lot of students walking along the side of the road without any sidewalk where there's a worn out path. So this is just to allow the contractor to, to construct the wall and also regrade the top of the existing, where the rock ledge is today, where we have to chisel it out and then just grade his yard into the new retaining wall, and then also plant new trees along the frontage of his property on the Soundview Avenue side.
Okay. I've got to get a motion on that. Thank you, Ms. Dunn.
I'm thinking that.
Any comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Item number or letter AI, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to enter into a temporary right of entry agreements to go into a certain portion of the following private properties for construction, access, and slope modification purposes. That's purposes, not proposes, related to the construction of new sidewalks and streetscapes as part of TPM 2024-7 Hospital Hill Village Safety Enhancement Project, 51 Stevens Street, 47 Stevens Street, 43 Stevens Street, 67 Stewart Avenue, and 69 Stewart Avenue. Do I have a motion? It's done. Thank you. Greg, that's back to you again.
Yeah, so this is again another project that was previously awarded. This is the Hospital Hill Village Safety Enhancement Project. This is again just to where we enter beyond the right of way, just so we can construct and also regrade some of the frontage of the properties just to meet the new grades that we're proposing with the new sidewalk enhancements. 3 of these properties are based on the multi-use building at the corner of Stevens and Stewart, where the right of way, is about 4 feet off of the building face. So this will allow us to go up to the building face with the new sidewalk and the new streetscape treatments that we're going to be constructing along the frontage of those buildings, and to just enhance and also to allow a smooth transition into the existing entryways, into the doorways, because those were obviously already fixed. So we needed to, to meet those existing front entryways for access to the businesses. So this is just an ability for us to get into those and to meet, kind of meet the new grades that we're going to be building with the new sidewalk and streetscape work.
Okay. Any comments, questions? All right, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. J, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute permanent sidewalk easement, as well as enter into a temporary right of entry agreement with Leonardo Coronado of 19 Oxford Street for construction of a sidewalk along Knapp Street and Oxford Street for project TMP 2024-9 Sono School Sidewalk Connectivity. You have a motion. Ms. Smith, thank you. Greg, you're on again. This is around the new South Norwalk Elementary School, that new area that they were just under, we just saw an update on yesterday.
Correct. Yep. So this is provides us with an ability to construct a ramp at the intersection. You have that 90-degree angle turn there at the intersection of Knapp and Oxford. So this will allow us to incorporate a sidewalk ramp at the corner there, which will directly align. If you refer to the new Sono school plans, they do plan to install a ramp on one side at that location. So we're more or less, we're adding that other ramp on the other side to connect that, make that connection. And then we're also providing a crosswalk, from the, I guess, from the northerly curb line as well on Knapp Street, to connect to the southerly portion there. And then we're ongoing right now building sidewalks along Knapp Street, along that southerly curb line as we speak right now, with the intention to have that all completed under construction before the start of school, before the school opens. And this will just allow us, based on the available right of way, allow us to construct that ramp at the corner of Oxford and Knapp, along the private property section here for the permanent easement.
Great. Any questions for Greg? I'll tell you that that whole area is just transforming. Every time I drive by there, it looks amazing. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item K, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute 1-year contract extension on an existing contract with Rocco Iderola, General Contracting Company, TMP 2023-1, decorative crosswalks and traffic calming services at various locations in an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually. Accounts so noted. Do you have a motion? Ms. Najelski-Eitner, thank you. Greg, you're up again.
All right, hope you don't get tired of me talking so far.
You're
So
doing good.
this is a contract. This is a contract extension. So this is our second 1-year extension on a 3-year contract. This is for more of an on-call contract with Rocco Iderola General Contracting, and this is for the installation of the preformed thermoplastic crosswalks. So if you look, they're kind of like the brick-like crosswalk that you'll see. We installed a couple years ago. We have the race crosswalk that we did at along Union Park South along the NRVT path, and then we did a couple last year at Rowayton at Witch Lane as well. We also have more planned this year to finish up Rowayton Avenue at the intersection of Cutlip Street, and also by the train station in Rowayton. And then we're also planning on installing more at Pillow Street at the frontage of Fox Run School, just to name a couple. So we're going to be installing a lot more of these. They're retro reflective. They're slip resistant, very durable crosswalks, and they're much more visible for drivers, and also kind of defines the crosswalk area much better than regular epoxy would, for pedestrians as well, and it's much safer for them to walk on. So this is just a 1-year contract extension for that, and it just adds a little bit more streetscape enhancements, as well, and better aesthetics for the street as well.
Okay. Any comments, any questions for Greg on this? Okay. All those in favor? Once again, Dewan? It's unanimous. Thanks. Okay, Greg, last one. M.
Check your modem or router connection and try again.
Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a permanent sidewalk easement, to construct and maintain new seat wall, and enter into a temporary right of entry agreement to go into a certain portion of 10 Wall Street for construction of sidewalk, street wall related to streetscape improvements as part of project L1020004, East Wall Street Landmark Square Safety, Accessibility, and Streetscape Improvement Project. Do I have a motion? Ms.
I'll move
Smith?
that, but I think we skipped L, Adams and Ward.
Yes, we did. Okay, so let's take M first and then we'll go back to L. Thank you. Sorry, Greg.
No, it's all good. So yeah, so this one, it's a request for a sidewalk easement that's required to facilitate public access to newly designed sidewalk and streetscape improvements along the Knight Street portion of the new sidewalk. And just actually to back up a step here, this is for part of the phase 1 East Wall Street streetscape project. So this is just a sidewalk easement request along with a permanent easement for the construction and maintenance of a new seat wall to better define the public realm within the plaza area at the 10 Wall Street property, which is the current Ahi 10 restaurant area. So as part of the project, we're pulling that curb line out into the road and defining a plaza area there and installing a seat wall. And based on the existing right-of-way, which is limited in some areas, we have to provide a sidewalk easement in order for public access, not through the outdoor seating itself, but at least in the sidewalk section in order to get the proper width for ADA compliance, and also in building a seat wall that will kind of separate from the dining experience, private dining experience, and the public plaza area at the frontage of Ahi 10. There. So that seat wall will have 2 easements that kind of that separates the two. And then also along with that will be a right of entry agreement to go in and construct the streetscape as proposed in the plans. And then also, in order to reconstruct the areas that we may interrupt that within the private property area as well.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Ms. Ninchowska.
These again, I think relates back to our conversation earlier tonight, but I think is maybe just a generally universal comment. This is really hard to approve without pictures. I genuinely don't understand what is being done here. And I'm struggling with the idea that, and I may be visualizing it entirely wrong, but putting a plaza out into what is already kind of a busy and high trafficked road doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And so without pictures, I'm really struggling with this.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to provide those to you. It's the project it's already under construction right now, phase 1, and we're bumping the curb out there, and the whole area between Main Street and Knight Street on Wall Street is all being reconfigured as part of the phase 1 Wall Street project. So that's all under construction, which as we speak right now. So that whole area is changing right now. So this is all happening behind the new curb line that we're proposing that just kind of separates between the Ahi 10 restaurant and the new plaza area that we're going to be constructing. I'm
Okay,
happy
so
to
this
provide
is
you.
so this is part of what we approved. I don't even know when that was. Some time ago now, correct?
It was about a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually just for the easements that go along with that plan that we already did last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it would, I think, and it's fine. Again, I think the easements are, but it would just be helpful, I think, as a general rule, like when in doubt, put in pictures. It helps a lot. So, but yes, I understand now that this is not a new project. So fair enough. But I have no recollection from 18 months ago of how this looked.
See, this is the problem, is that Greg and his team have created a monster, because every time they do bring something, they usually give you a full 7-color separation booklet on exactly what they're looking at. Now you've spoiled us by not giving us pictures all the time.
Well, we'll make sure we stick with that and we provide as many pictures as possible. So the booklet gets even thicker. What are we at? 86 pages. So we'll make it thicker next time.
Okay. Ms. Smith.
Or perhaps, Greg, you just include the link to the, because I'm pretty certain these are available on the website, right? And I think we saw them not all that long ago in the ECD committee. So, you know, I think, and that like with this particular project, it, you know, crosses different committees. And so, you know, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I can visualize it because I've seen it pretty recently. But yeah, in case you, and if you haven't seen it recently, it's really hard to wrap your brain around it. So yeah, I think, you know, at least the link, Greg. So that would be great.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to send you all links so you can see it.
Any other questions? Any comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Going back to the one I forgot, L, letter L, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to award a contract agreement with Priority Landscaping LLC in the amount of $771,240 with a 10% contingency of $77,124 for project TMP 2025-3 Adams Avenue Ward Street curbing sidewalk project. Accounts so noted. Do I have a motion? Ms. Winterstrand, thank you. Greg, one more time.
Okay, so yeah, so this project includes the construction of a new 5-foot ADA compliant sidewalk along Adams Avenue between France Street to Camp Street, as well as the one-way portion of Ward Street extending from Adams Avenue to Union Avenue. It's basically just to provide a safer access for students. There's multiple schools within the area, especially Tracy School. So there's a lot of pedestrian activity in the area. We're also looking to incorporate some traffic calming measures, you know, along the Ward Street section. We did have a public meeting on this where we had the residents, along both the Ward Street section and the Adams Avenue section. We did also talk with residents while we were out in the field as well, while we were under design for this project, and heard a lot of complaints from the residents as far as speeding on that Ward Street section and what could be done to reduce speeding. So we really look to make a more consistent travelway and delineate the traffic a little bit better and provide curb extensions to slow vehicular traffic. And we believe we did that with the design. And we put this in talking with the property owners. They were thrilled with what we were proposing, and they were quite excited for the improvements in the area. So we had 4 bids during the opening on April 23rd, and the lowest responsible bidder and the low bidder was noted in the memo.
Any questions? Comments?
Yeah, to get comment, I'm really thrilled that this is something that's moving forward. This is an area that I travel often, quite often, and I hear from residents who live there about the speed of the traffic. So I'm thrilled that we're doing this.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Item number N, I'd like to table, if I could have a motion to table that. This is for some a contract for some sidewalk project that the final okay has not been received by Connecticut DOT, that TMP thought we'd have it in time. But we were going to have to hold it up until we get the final approval from Connecticut DOT. So I'd like to table it till next week. Can I have a motion to do that? Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to reports. I I'd like to do the tree operation, programming, solid waste and food scrap drop off together. Mr. Torrey, do you want to comment on that? I think we just maybe hit the highlights on this.
Sure. So we're down 11% with curbside pickup for the same time last year as we are this year. Recycling is down 4% as well. Food scraps, we're at 7.5 tons, which puts us at 82.5 tons of food scraps. Last year for the whole year, we did 99.98. The year before that, we did 59. So we're hoping to break that 100 this year and keep going forward with that.
Great. It's unbelievable. I say that every month, but it's unbelievable.
Did you want me to do a quick tree report?
If it's if you can do it.
I
just
could do it in
just
12 words or less. 21 removals, 29 safety prunings. The locations are in your backup.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions on any of those reports that Chris summarized? Okay, great. Jim, Meehan, do you want to give us a quick update on some of the upcoming projects? I think the ones I had in mind that we want to maybe just touch on is some of the big ones that were
Yes, yes.
talked about, like Grumman Avenue, and talk about
Yes.
what used to be the Cedar West Cedar Bridge.
Yes. So Grumman, we have mobilized on Grumman. A lot of work involved with this, so we're anticipating work to be completed late summer. Now, in addition to that, we have paved so far West Cedar Street, Elizabeth Street, and South Main. And we have just recently completed the sidewalks required on our CHRO roads, the McAllister, Francis Avenue, and those roads down there. We're looking to hopefully pave that area shortly, but we're waiting for proper paving mixtures to be complete. And regarding the West Cedars Bridge, as you know, it's been under construction. It's the bridge itself has been completely removed. So they're now working on the piles. There's a pedestrian bridge in place with temporary sidewalks installed, so pedestrians have no issues walking in across there. The work is undergoing right now. They're doing the substructure, the piles, and the entire work itself is still scheduled to be completed sometime late November.
Great. It's unbelievable.
They move pretty fast in removing the bridge.
Anybody, any other questions, any other comments for either Chris or for Jim? Okay, seeing none, is there any other motions that we want to entertain? Ms. Dunn? I think I read your lips and it said adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Sorry, we had to run a little late tonight, but you got your money's worth. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks all. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Good night.